Hey, it's Jen coming to you with news that's not good at all. If you've been paying attention to the Status Coup channel lately, you probably have seen my videos on the embassy protectors inside the Venezuelan embassy in DC. Well, they have now been arrested. The quickie little update on the background of this is that there are embassy protectors who were designated to be there by the current government, the Maduro government in Venezuela. The current president is Maduro. However, the United States recognizes Juan Guaido as the interim president and does not recognize Maduro. So there's been this standoff of people who are pro-coup, pro-war, pro-Juan Guaido taking over officially in Venezuela. Right now he doesn't have all the powers of a president or any powers at all. The only reason he has any kind of standing is because countries like the United States have been propping him up. That's all Juan Guaido has. But he has his supporters here in the United States. Many of them are wealthy, lighter-skinned Venezuelans and Donald Trump supporters, if we're being honest. So we have those supporters who've been outside. We call them the opposition. They've been outside of the embassy protesting and causing a ruckus and trying to get the embassy protectors who've been placed there by the Maduro government out. Well, that's actually happened. They were in there for, I believe, 36 days, those embassy protectors. But today the police, the cops, went in and arrested the 4 remaining embassy protectors, and so now they are in jail. So it's not good. I'm not happy to give this update at all. Yesterday, Reverend Jesse Jackson was actually at the embassy, and he and his team successfully got food because there were shortages of food inside the embassy. Successfully got food past the opposition, past the opposing protesters, which was nothing short of a miracle because they hadn't been able to get food in for quite a while. So yesterday was a peaceful, happy day with Reverend Jesse Jackson there in support of the embassy protectors, and today was a terrible day because this morning, and this is May 16th, those embassy protectors have been arrested, as I said. So let's look at some of the updates that have been posted on Twitter by the people who've been there, who've been on this all along, like Code Pink, Alex Rubenstein, Ford Fisher, Max Blumenthal. They've been on this much more than I have, even though I've tried to stay on top of it. I've been there. I've reported from the scene. The opposition was absolutely nasty to me, been nasty to all reporters, nasty to Code Pink and anyone who is anti-war, anti-coup, and pro-embassy protectors. So let's go through some of those things. If you want to get the latest updates on what's going on at the embassy and with the embassy protectors, you can follow me at Jenn Elizabeth J and look for my lists, and you'll see a Venezuela list, and that's how I'm able to stay up to date. Just a side note there. So first we had an update at 9:27 a.m. Eastern from Medea Benjamin, and Medea is the leader of Code Pink, the peace organization that has been on this from the beginning. And she said, breaking news, police breaking into Venezuela embassy to illegally arrest Embassy Protection Collective in violation of the Vienna Convention, breaking international law. And we had Elena from Telesur take a picture of the cops after they had broken in and taking down the posters, the posters in support of peace, ripping them down. And Elena said, this is the moment when the U.S. federal police, against all international law, broke into the Venezuelan embassy in Washington, D.C. on May 16th, 2019. Do not forget it. Here's an update and photo from Max Blumenthal. Definitely follow all these people that I'm showing you. They're fantastic. He's at Max Blumenthal. Elena was at Elena Telesur. And Max says, this photo shows U.S. Secret Service violating sovereign Venezuelan territory to arrest invited American guests on behalf of an unelected, impotent coup administration that can't achieve anything without U.S. intervention. It's an illegal act of war. And Max had actually linked to Alina's picture from Telesur and shows one of those women is Margaret Flowers, who would run for Senate in in Maryland in 2016 under the Green Party ticket. And you can see the police arresting the embassy protectors. And Ariel Elise Gold, who is one of the leaders of Code Pink, along with Medea, she was able to talk to two of the embassy protectors as they were being hauled out of the building and off to jail. So she spoke with Dr. Margaret Flowers and Adrian Pine, as you saw in the other photo. So let's listen to this.
Adrian Pine and Margaret Flowers. We assume that the rest will be still taken out. So let's, we're going to stay on the scene and watch. They might be here. So this might be, let's get started ready to chance. No coup! No war! No sanctions anymore! No coup! No war! We love you, embassy protectors!
Again, that was Ariel Elise Gold, and she is very cool. She shows absolutely no fear when it comes to protesting and standing up for what's right. So you saw her there filming two of the embassy protectors that had gotten arrested, and it's clear what the cops did was illegal and violated the Vienna Convention. So you also saw and heard the opposition cheering. They were thanking the police for what they did. It's nauseating, honestly. Let's look at some more of these updates. Here's one with a lawyer named Mara Verheyden Hilliard. I had an interview with her. She's extremely intelligent, and she was actually the reason that cops did not arrest the embassy protectors the other night, because she showed them that it was an illegal order. So now Mara has briefed the press after the State Department law enforcement evicted and arrested the Embassy Protection Collective. And this is posted by Alex Rubenstein at Alex Ruby. Definitely follow him. He has been extremely active in updating folks about the situation.
Very, very, very concerned. What has happened here today is that the U.S. government has taken the extraordinary step of saying that the Vienna Convention means nothing. That what the government or any government around the world can do is, if it is angry, dislikes, disapproves, does not want the leader of another country, that it can simply designate someone else, claim that person as the leader of another sovereign country, recognize another person as a leader of the sovereign country, regardless of whether or not there are elections to that end. And instead of leaving the government of Venezuela up to the people of Venezuela, you now have the U.S. government deciding for the people of Venezuela who their leadership will be and handing over an embassy compound to their designated representative. The Vienna Convention protects all diplomatic diplomatic compounds all around the world, including those of American embassies. And I would think that the State Department would be very, very, very worried about sending this signal because of the danger it places its own embassies into. This is a very dangerous step that the U.S. government has taken. It's an extraordinary step. In times of war, countries do not seize embassies. There are protective policies that are put in place. Third countries manage consular services. And the reality is the appointed government that the Trump administration has chosen to lead Venezuela, chosen as its representatives here in the United States, has no capacity to execute consular services. So even giving them the embassy is nothing but a show. This is a photo op opportunity in support of the U.S. government's attempted coup in Venezuela. That's what this is.
Do you think this case will ever make it to court?
Of the Maduro government representative, their immunity, their fate, what's going to happen to them?
I can't speak to the circumstances of Venezuelan officials. That is not my role.
How do they have to justify their arrest? I mean, the legal argument that they have.
They are justifying the arrest as interference with a protective mission. That is how they are justifying the arrest, and it's federal charges.
And what do you make of that?
I have to say that they've obviously done every single thing they could to try and force the peace act.
So there you have lawyer Mara Verheyden-Hilliard telling you exactly like it is. There are no two ways about it. This was an illegal seizure, and it sets an extremely dangerous precedent because, as she said, in times of war, you cannot illegally seize an embassy. Right now, the Juan Guaido, what would be a regime, and it is recognized by the United States. He is recognized as the interim president by the United States, but there's no power. Even if he installs his supposed ambassador, Carlos Vecchio, Carlos has no power. No power to do the functions of a normal ambassador. So you can bet that Mara is going to fight this for as long as she needs to, because she is the legal counsel and she's the most intelligent on this topic as far as I'm concerned. Let's go back to Medea Benjamin, who reiterates what attorney Mara Verheyden-Hilliard said. The fact that the State Department has broken into a protected diplomatic mission to arrest peace activists will have repercussions the world over. This is an extraordinary violation of the Vienna Convention. And then you can see one of the opposition posting a very happy message. It's extremely gross that they don't see the light. So the latest update is that people have mobilized in DC at the Venezuelan embassy, outside of it, and that Carlos Vecchio has a press conference scheduled where he's going to speak to his supporters, and there's kind of a counter protest or counter press conference going on. And here are a couple of postings from Alex Rubinstein and some of what people had to say about what happened. So Alex says, outside the illegally seized Venezuelan embassy in DC, Brian Becker at Brian Becker DC of at Answer Coalition begins a press conference. So again, this is the counter press conference to what's happening with Carlos Vecchio and his so-called press conference. Remember, Carlos Vecchio is the fake ambassador on the Guaido side.
Citizen Protection Coalition that again working to preserve this embassy for the government, legitimate government of Venezuela. We'd like to ask Brian Becker of Answer to tell us what happened today.
What happened today was a gross violation of international law and U.S. law. The Vienna Convention is a signed treaty. That means it's the highest law of the land for the United States. The Vienna Convention states clearly in Article 22 that this compound, this diplomatic building, is inviolable, meaning it cannot be seized. Today it was seized. It was seized by Secret Service, by U.S. Marshals, by Metropolitan Police Department, in a military-style operation against peaceful people who have been inside the Venezuelan embassy as the invited guests of the government of Venezuela. This is clearly the first time that anything like this has happened in U.S. history. Even during the U.S.-sponsored Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba in 1961, it did not occur to the U.S. government at that time to seize the Cuban embassy and turn it over to the opposition. The Vienna Convention exists to protect diplomats everywhere. There will be a cascading impact. There will be a blowback based on this lawlessness. This is Mike Pompeo. This is John Bolton, who have hijacked U.S. foreign policy to engage in imperial designs, breaking international law. What's the real goal? The real goal is to support a coup that has failed. This coup has failed because the people in Venezuela don't want it. It failed on January 23rd. It failed on February 23rd. It failed on April 30th. 80% of the people of Venezuela, whether they support or don't support the Maduro government, oppose any U.S. intervention into their country because they, like all people, want to be the masters of their own destiny. For our part, we're going to continue. On Saturday, there will be a massive demonstration here. People are coming from all over the United States to say, we still stand with the Embassy Protection Collective. You have jailed the Embassy Protection Collective, but you haven't stopped the movement, our movement that supports the right of the people of Venezuela to self-determination. Thank you very much.
So you heard it there. On Saturday, there will be a large demonstration where people from all over will come to DC and they will protest what has happened. Last but not least, we have Alex Rubinstein. Again, please follow him for the latest updates. He's absolutely fantastic as a journalist, has done great work on the embassy reporting. He was actually embedded inside with the embassy protectors for quite some time. And follow him at RealAlexRuby, Ruby with an I, on Twitter. And here again is Ariel Elise Gold of Code Pink. Let's see what she has to say.
And let's remember, folks, well, I just want to marvel here for a moment. 37 days of holding down this embassy building. And let's remember, folks, this fight isn't over. They haven't taken over this building yet. We're going to be challenging this in court, using all methods, going to the International Criminal Court, using the United Nations. And we have raised this issue up to an international level and raised up the importance of this. When they came in and they took over the military attaché building in D.C. and the consulate in New York City, no media even showed up at all. So we have brought this to the attention of the world. And they haven't been able to succeed with their coup in Venezuela. Bolton has not been able to succeed. Guaido's coup is failing. So the best they're trying to do is take over this embassy building, and they haven't even gotten that yet. So we are raising this issue, and we are building a new anti-war movement, a movement against coups, and we are still here. So we hope to see everybody out here on Saturday. No sanctions, no war.
So I stand corrected for one thing, because Ariel just said it was 37 days and not 36 days, as I said earlier. And she also mentioned the protests that will be held on Saturday. So if you're around the DC area and you'd like to protest, you just heard what you can do. So I will keep an eye on this situation. Again, you can follow my Venezuela Twitter list if you'd like for the latest updates, and I will continue updating as much as possible. This has been a sad day, but there is hope. And again, as Elise said, as Ariel said, they held the world's attention for 37 days, brought this to the world's attention. So you can consider that a win for sure. I will catch you later. Bye-bye.